Today, for the very first time, I get to listen to the brand new version of my all-time favorite Taylor Swift album. This is Speak Now, Taylor's version. Okay, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, and I'm going to listen to some Taylor Swift. I think it might help me calm down. Taylor's got her problems. She's going to sing about them all over this album. We've all got our own issues. Me, right now, specifically, literally right now, I was supposed to be recording my reaction to Metallica's album Saint Anger right now as I sit in this chair. If you're unfamiliar with my channel, since the beginning of this year, I have been growing my channel exponentially. It's been amazing, and I have been having such a fun time by reacting to Metallica's albums, all of their albums in their catalog. And up until this point, we're halfway through the year now, we've listened to Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, Black Album, Load, Reload, and Justice for All. And we actually did 72 Seasons as well when that one came out. So the only albums we have left are Saint Anger, Death Magnetic, and Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Then we're going to do Symphony of Metallica, and we're going to do Garage Inc. And I'm so excited to do all of those things. But tonight was supposed to be the night that we were going to be recording Saint Anger. I have been doing these reactions with two of my friends, both of whom are named Chris. And we had originally scheduled to record my reaction to Saint Anger, because I've never heard any of Metallica's catalog till this year, by the way, just to want to point that out. Those were all first-time listens for me, with the exception of the Black Album. Anyway, go check out those videos on my channel if that sounds interesting to you. But we were scheduled to record my first time listening to Saint Anger last Wednesday. Something came up with one of the two guys that I do my reactions with, and we had to reschedule it. So we moved it to this Tuesday, which is today, right now. We were supposed to be doing it right now. This morning, I got a text from the other guy saying that he was having some issues, and I don't blame them for this, by the way. They both were silly issues, sickness, illness type things, physical things that were actually literally going wrong. I totally believe them, so I don't blame them at all. It's just frustrating from a creation standpoint, you know. So we had it rescheduled, and then this morning, the other guy texted me and was like, I can't do it today. I'm like, okay, whatever. So we were trying to reschedule, and it turns out that one of the Chris's couldn't do anything for the rest of the month, which meant that I only had the other Chris. But he was less interested in doing Saint Anger with me than doing Death Magnetic. So I arranged with the first Chris to try to just do Saint Anger tonight. And that was what I had been believing this entire day. Spent the whole day getting ready for that, reading up about Saint Anger online, getting everything organized, getting everything ready, getting my set up, everything until about 2 hours ago. About an hour before we were supposed to start recording, I got a message that the first Chris had canceled the stuff he was supposed to do for the rest of the month, so he would now be available so that we could all do it together, which is the big thing that we wanted to do in the first place. So I decided that I was going to come down here and do a reaction to Ride the Lightning again and anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just you guys don't care watching this. It's been a very frustrating evening for me. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to listen to my favorite Taylor Swift album. So if you are one of the people who's been subscribing to my channel this year, thank you very much for checking out something that's totally different. I know a lot of people love Taylor Swift's music, people who love all genres of music. Taylor Swift's music absolutely extends beyond the boundaries of sort of genres and stuff. And so thank you very much for checking this out. Metallica videos are still coming. They're all still planned. As far as I know, all three of us will be doing them, so don't worry about those. So with that out of the way, or maybe I don't even know. I don't even know what this is going to be, because we have a unique opportunity here to listen to an album that was recorded. What year did this come out? It was 2010. Yes, 2010. So 13 years ago. Wow, that's... No way. Yes, 2010. That's insane. 13 years ago. Wow. I fell in love with this album originally because at the time I was working at a record store and we played this nonstop. And at first, I didn't care for it that much. I was not a big fan of country music. And I know it seems kind of silly now to think about Taylor Swift as a country artist, but at the time, she was still considered a country artist. her CDs were categorized in the country section. And but over the course of time, listening to the album a lot when I was at the store, I used to work in the music department a lot. The store I worked at was called Hastings Entertainment, and we sold books, movies, video games, CDs, some vinyl. But we sold all sorts of novelty things. And it basically was like a big hodgepodge store. And I primarily worked in the book section and mostly in the music section, or in the video games. Music and video games were kind of together. But I primarily worked there. So in the music section, we had a CD music playing all day, and we had Taylor Swift's Speak Now album in the bin for, it seemed like, weeks and weeks and weeks. And at first, I resisted it, but I couldn't deny it, and I grew to really enjoy it. And then we took it out of the bin, and I didn't think about it for a few years. And then probably, I would guess, 2013, 2014, I started thinking about it more, and I started looking for a copy of the Target Deluxe Edition, which I knew was out there. And I managed to track one down, and that's the copy I have now. I ended up buying this used. And this is my favorite Taylor Swift album. I have to be totally honest and say I don't know that much Taylor Swift, though. I have her album. I have this album, and I have Red, and I have 1989. And those are the only 3 albums I actually own. My sister, before she released this one, had, I think, her 2 albums from before this. And I do know a lot of songs off those 2 albums as well. I think one of them was Fearless. And then one of them was her an earlier one, like a country one. And I know some songs off of those albums because I've heard them sort of just by proxy, as my sister would listen to them occasionally. Other than that, I don't really know very many of her newer songs. I haven't heard anything since Folklore came out, and I think she released a couple albums last year. She may have even released a new album this year, I'm not sure. But she just kind of drops albums whenever she wants to. I know a little bit about Taylor Swift and the sort of her fight in the music industry against the people who own her copyrights. I'm not sure if it's for family or record label what, but I know she was like, I'm not giving you what you want, so I'll just record my own versions and say you can't sell those anymore or whatever. So I'm not sure exactly how all of that stuff works, but I do know a little bit about it, and I know that that's why we have this album here. So, yeah, I don't know. I was going to listen to this over the last couple weeks because I had been anticipating maybe doing a reaction to this, but I wasn't for sure that I was going to. And instead of listening to this, I kind of just put it off to the side because I kind of want to just be surprised by the songs as they come on here. Now, one other thing I have to say is that I have not heard any of Taylor's versions of any of these new Taylor versions of any of these songs. So I haven't heard any of Red or the other one she did, which I just mentioned it a little second ago. What was it called? Anyway, I haven't heard any of these albums that she's been re-releasing. So I don't know how she's actually re-recorded them. Do they sound very similar? I would hope that they maybe sound a little bit better. She definitely does like electronic pop music sort of nowadays. And like I said, Speak Now is the sort of crossover album. I mean, she was really Fearless. That's the name of the album. She was popular in the pop sphere before that, but she was still, like I said, considered a country artist here. So are there going to be less acoustic guitars and acoustic drums? Is there going to be more? Did they make this a modern Taylor Swift album? I have no clue. I've heard literally not a second of any of this album. For all I know, she basically did like electronic remixes of all these songs, and that's what we're going to hear here. Or she went into the studio and they just re-recorded everything. I know she owns the rights to the arrangements of the songs, and I think she owns the arrangements. She just does not own those specific recordings. And there's all sorts of different copyright issues, and copyright is so complex. So we'll just see what happens. Speaking of copyright, I can guarantee you, I'm like 99.999% sure that when I listen to this album, I will not be able to include the audio from this new album in this video. Normally, when I listen to an album, you can hear along with me what I'm listening to. Now, if you watch reactions on YouTube, anything about music on YouTube, that's a big no-no and you can't do it. Some artists let you do it and then they just take the royalties from the video. Other artists just block your video outright across the entire world. So what I do with my videos, and what I'm going to be doing with all my videos moving forward, unless I know for sure a band is okay with letting people use their music and then they just take the royalties from the videos, For example, Metallica. I've been able to upload all of my Metallica reactions with all of the music in the video. And then when you go on my channel, which as of right now is not a partnered YouTube channel, so I cannot put ads on my videos. When you go to any of my Metallica videos and you click on them, there's ads on them. I've seen them myself. Those ads are there because of the Metallica music in the videos. All of the revenue from those ads goes to Metallica or whoever owns the Metallica copyrights, which I'm pretty sure is Metallica because I think they own all of their own stuff. So Taylor Swift, all these issues she's had, I'm sure that there's no way that I can put the music from this album in this video. I'm even worried about having the microphone this close to me because I get bleed from my headphones into the sound. Like my headphones bleed into the recording, and you might be able to hear the music. So I'm going to move the microphone even like back from me, so I don't get as much bleed when I start actually listening. But I'm going to try to upload the video with the music in it. If I can, and you hear the music, that's fantastic. More likely than not, you will not be able to. So I'm still going to upload the entire thing exactly the way I have it. Sorry, you'll probably have to listen to me sort of awkwardly breathing, but that's another good reason to move the microphone back a little bit. But I am going to upload the entire video, probably with no music in it, and then I will just have a countdown on screen. Actually, what I'll do, I'll count down each time I hit play, and I might just let it run through. I don't think I'm going to stop it. So, but anytime I do stop it, I'll count down till I restart, and I won't stop it in the middle of songs. And if nothing else, I can even put a countdown on screen. But I will put links in the description so you can listen to this album along with me on Spotify. Whatever any links I can find, so that you can try to have the song playing on a different device or the same device if you're using like a computer. I know it's tougher with a cell phone, but I think that's the best way for me to do it. I could just cut the songs out completely, but here on my channel, I try to focus on production things and how things were recorded and why things sound the way they sound, and a little bit less about sort of like the meanings of the songs and everything. So I find it's really beneficial to me to be able to talk while I'm hearing the songs, and to be able to say, listen to that, whatever. So I'll probably leave everything in the way it is. You'll see the video however I end up editing it, whatever. Like I said, this is totally like sort of a last second decision for me putting this, recording this, and probably try to edit this entire video tomorrow. So without any further ado, let's get into listening to it. I'm going to move the mic back, angle it down maybe a little. I want you to be able to hear me. Check, 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 check. I think that'll be okay. We need a little ambiance. Like I said, I'm feeling frustrated and angry. So let's relax and listen to some Taylor Swift. One more thing. I'll be right back with you. Look right here on the table. So I thought I'd be all cute and get the purple Mountain Dew, the passion fruit Mountain Dew, for the purple Taylor Swift album, even though my copy, as I've showed you multiple times now, is the red Target exclusive version. This is very different for me and my channel. Though maybe not as different as it could be. I do listen to all sorts of things here on my channel. So if you enjoy what I say, enjoy the way that this video works, go check out the other videos here on my channel. And if you really enjoy the process, if you really want to, if you really enjoy it, you want to see my future videos, think about subscribing. If nothing else, like the video, leave a comment about how terrible my formula is, how stupid I am for disliking the thing that you like, or vice versa. But let's not worry about that. Let's just have a fun time listening to Taylor Swift. Relax. Taylor's version, Speak Now. Track 1, Mine. This is going to be very nostalgic for me, I feel. I haven't listened to this album in probably a couple years, so let's see what it is. Thank you for joining me. Whoa. Okay, that acoustic guitar is surprising sounding. Sounds like a... That acoustic guitar is interesting. Recorded mono, pan slightly off to the side. Drums, electronic drums, it sounds like. Toms sound great, though. The acoustic, or the electric guitar is spread very wide. It sounds pretty raw. The electric guitars specifically sound pretty raw. And by raw, I mean unprocessed, dynamic. Spread very wide. The mix is extremely wide. Drums do sound like real drums now that I'm hearing them. They might have been replaced. The beginning might have been totally different. Wow, that's a wide mix. The bass sounds extremely wide. It's very weird. Actually, the bass sounds terrible. Now that I'm listening to it, sounds like it has a stereo delay on it. Very interesting. Yeah, the bass kind of sucks. There's no high frequency, no like high register to it at all. Background vocals are great. Reminds me of that Ashley Simpson song, Pieces of Me, or something from that era, which I think that was like a decade before this originally came out, the original version. Yeah, the bass is just confusing me. It's going to be hard for me not to sing this entire album. Sparks fly. Definitely everything is compressed a lot more. There's an airiness to the sides, though. The mastering definitely was mastered. This was mastered. This was very much mastered, it sounds like to me. Her voice sounds great, right in the middle. Like the electric guitars. Like I said, I don't know how they approached doing this, but if it was more of a, I heard some bad distortion in her vocals. By bad distortion, I mean they're pushing the limiters so hard that it distorted in a bad way, not distorted like electric guitar distortion. Again, the panning very. I feel like the bass sounds way better in this song. It definitely sounds more in the middle of the mix rather than spread out on the sides. There's still not much definition to the bass, though. It's pretty much just low boomy frequency, and I'm pretty sure that would sound completely different on the original version. Ooh, I like the organ. I'm not familiar enough with these songs to know the original arrangements other than just that it sounds pretty much relatively the same to me. My favorite song on this album is Mean, and I'm very much looking forward to that song. And I legitimately might cry when we get to Never Grow Up, because I used that song in my sister's wedding video when I made her wedding video in the section when I was featuring my pictures and videos of my niece, who is 2 right now. So that song has that association with me. And I know it for a fact in that song on the original album, there was some bad distortion. So I'm curious to see when we get there. But what I was saying earlier was I wonder if they kind of just approach this as, let's just go in the studio and record these songs, you know? It's Taylor Swift, so of course they have as much money as any human being could ever have to put into this. Not that they would need a lot because of what they're doing, basically. Keeping it more stripped back, I'm sure, though, compared to her more recent albums. Although I shouldn't say that because I don't know that much about her more recent albums. I'm more familiar with her sort of like electronic-y albums that came after this one. And I know she did some more recent... Her more recent albums have more reverb and stuff on them, which is something that doesn't appeal to me. The sort of like cavernous reverb effect. Ooh. Thought I maybe heard like a cello or some sort of a... Well, there's a fiddle. I wonder if it's fun for her to go in the studio and make sort of like a rock, country-ish rock album again. I'm sure it was a very different process. But again, I don't know her more recent albums, so I don't really know if she's gone back to that at all. Oh yeah, more of an acoustic song, nice. Mandolin, I think, off to the side. Acoustic guitar. Tremoloed electric guitar. Strings. Drums are a little low across the whole mix, I feel, but I commend her for that almost. Ooh. I do not think the strings were in the original version of this. Shaker. And then an acoustic guitar just strummed. Not much of the tone of the guitar, more being used as a percussive instrument. That could be mandolin strummed as well. That hi-hat, though. Ooh, that bell. Yes, mandolin. I don't remember that. I love this. Little mandolin lead part. Little auto-tuney sounding there, but not bad or anything like that. Maybe it wasn't even, maybe there was no auto-tune used on this. I'm pretty sure there probably was some pitch correction stuff, regardless if it was auto-tune or not. But, I mean, everybody knows Taylor Swift is a fantastic singer, so I'm not questioning her ability whatsoever. But again, if they just went in the studio and were like, let's knock these out. But this song has, like, string arrangement on it, though that could have been added after the fact. I love that electric guitar with the tremolo on it. Love it. Sounds great. Bass right in the middle. I think this song as well, sort of the same way it was in track 2. I commend her for having the drums the kick and the snare so low in the mix. That's so anti-pop music for today's music scene. And I like it. I'm surprised at the length of a lot of these songs. I wonder if any of them were extended at all. I mean, she's got a 6-minute 45-second song on here. And a 6-minute 9-second song. Some of these are really long. This is epic. Yes, love that mandolin. Obviously, the strings are fantastic. Yes, that's my favorite song so far on this album. Probably would have been my favorite of the 3 back in the day as well. But, man, I really like that arrangement. Okay. You can really hear the acoustic guitar, the stop, the hand on the strings. Her voice is so loud. But it works. The mix is so wide, it feels like she's pretty much the only thing in the middle. I feel like the drums are more present on this song. Ooh, love the electric guitar. That organ in there really nice as well. Evocative of a sort of a church organ sound. Ooh, I love it. Acoustic guitar sounds fantastic. I gotta say, this is super nerdy of me, and I'm totally fine with that. But this song in particular is really making me think of. I just have the movie left to go, but I just got done watching the first 2 seasons, the only 2 seasons of the Quintessential Quintuplets anime. And oh my god, this song is speaking to my heart right now because of that. And I haven't even seen the movie, which I'm pretty sure is where the marriage happens in the movie. They've been teasing it since the very first moment of the first episode. But oh, was that show fantastic. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, this is like I said, this is speaking to my heart right now. Also, there's like a super nostalgia factor here that's really interesting that I'll think about. Ooh, those toms. Massive. Tambourine hit, every snare hit. And maybe not every hit, but there's definitely accenting. That's another sort of a gospel-y thing. Makes it feel more churchy. Interesting. Oh, it would be so neat to do like A/B comparisons of this. But I know if I do that, I'll have twice as much chance that it'll be copywritten all up to wazoo, and it'll be hard for people to line everything up and whatnot. This is 6 minutes and 45 seconds. I don't remember this song at all. I'm sure I will. Love that organ. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, those bends at the same time. Oh, there's this enormous feeling. It's like the song's being wrapped around these guitars, these frequencies. But her voice just slices right through everything. Wonder if Taylor Swift played acoustic guitar on all these songs. I would assume so. I don't know. Pretty sure she probably did. All right. The guitars are phenomenal. Reminded me a little bit of some like Wallflowersy, Jacob Dylan-y type stuff, which is great. That's a huge compliment coming from me. I don't like a ton of music that's really like this, but I would definitely say that Wallflowersy music could fit into this. sort of style. Fantastic background vocals. Those like piano bling blings. I thought I read online that a couple of these songs feature guest artists, so I'm going to look real quick and see. It says commercially, Speak Now, Taylor's version broke the global Spotify record for the most single-day streams for an album in 2023. It reached #1 in Australia, Canada, Flanders, I don't know where that is, Ireland, and the Netherlands, New Zealand, Spain, United Kingdom, as well as the United States. Let's see. Oh, love that electric guitar little solo-y moment there. God, there's so many people that played instruments on this. Like, it looks like every song. Patrick Stump, electric guitar, vocals, track 17. We're not going to get there. Joe Russo. Okay. Hayley Williams, vocals, track 20. I like Hayley Williams. Randy Merrill, mastering. Sounds fantastic so far. Serban Guinea, apologize. Mixing on most of the tracks. All the ones we're listening to. David Payne was the engineer. Derek Garton was the editing and engineering and programmer. A lot of other people. Those are the people listed on most of the stuff. Okay, we're getting to my favorite song. This is an epic song, by the way. Crazy to think she has an almost 7-minute song on here. Who does she think she is, Metallica? Okay, let's go. Let's go. Banjo, strumming banjo. Strumming mandolin. Definitely, I can hear differences, I think. Like, I'm pretty sure. Clapping. For the snare. Huh. Okay, very different. I feel like the song is more bouncy and it kind of lost its attack there for the chorus. Like, I really remember waiting for that chorus and having it pump in and just be like, but this, it felt kind of bouncier and happier than I remember it. Maybe happy is a weird way to say it. Whoa. I'm gonna look and see if it has time lengths in here. Someday I'll be bigger than a big old... I don't even know the words correctly. Ever gonna be as mean. Someday I'll be big enough so you can't hit me. And all you're ever gonna be is mean. Why you gotta be so mean? It does not say the song lengths in here that I can see. Wow, this is a really cool booklet. I'm sure you've all seen it before. I'll have to get the new version on CD eventually. All love and mean. Love the fiddle in there, that's great. That makes it feel more country. But of course you have mandolin, banjo. Okay, definitively I did not like that version as much as the other one. I think the other one was just... It was a tighter mix. I feel like there was more dynamics to the whole thing. I've always enjoyed this song as well, by the way. I love this part right here, right? I don't know what to say. Twist. When it all crashed down. It's really weird listening to an album that I know, like, a vast majority of people probably on Earth love. You know what I mean? It's interesting. I mean, I guess you could say sort of the same thing with the Metallica albums I've been listening to. They are definitely incredibly popular. #1 band on the planet, probably. Still interesting. I feel like even how big Metallica is, Taylor Swift is on, like, you know, another level. They're like a rung or 2 or 3 above Metallica. Which is pretty crazy if you think about it. I like the crashes. There haven't been as many sort of like big crashes at the beginning of choruses and stuff on this album, or at least that's how it feels to me. So catchy, such good songwriting. I don't know what to say since a twist of fate when it all broke down. A lot like a tragedy now. Ah, those little guitar notes. I'm nervous about the next song. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through it. We'll see. Be strong. Nice. Electric guitar is great. Now, this song I do know very well since I put it in my sister's wedding video, so we will see. Acoustic guitar recorded in stereo. Background vocals sound great. Two tracks of acoustic guitar. Close mic'd sounds fantastic. I made it. I think I made it. It was close there. Okay, so I think I actually enjoy the original version of that as well. I think again, just having the more dynamics to it, I think that was so everything was so close and so loud the entire time. It lost a little bit of the it lost a little bit of the something. I don't know. I don't know. Ooh, I love that sort of synth pad thing, organ-y thing, creating nice atmosphere. Another almost 6 minute song. Tom build. I feel like some of these songs are slower. I'm gonna look up the songs on Discogs. Interesting little drum beat there. Enchanted 552. Wow. Dear John 645. Okay, so they pretty much are the same arrangements then, it looks like. Whew. Bass sounds pretty wide again. Bass is completely low passed, meaning that there's no high frequency, no frequencies above a certain point going through the signal. It's just low frequency. That makes sense with what they're doing with the mix. I bet you can hear the bass a little bit more clearly or cleanly in the original version, though. But the whole mix is tighter, focused on the center on that album, rather than being spread so incredibly wide. Electric or solo sounds great. Electric guitar. Whoa. Those strings. Huge toms. Ooh, that's snare, baby. This song has a great feeling of building. The strings again sound fantastic. All right, Better Than Revenge. Yeah. Forgot about this song. There, the bass, you could hear a little bit in the bass. I know it's said that one of the reasons she had Haley Williams on one of the bonus songs is because that they really were an inspiration for her at the time. Haley Williams, of course, the lead singer of Paramore. And you can definitely hear that influence in this song. Certainly heavier than the other songs that have been on the album thus far. The distorted vocals are a little much. Oh, I'll bet her guitar players, they just had so much fun doing this. Wonder if it was weird for her to go back into the mindset she had with these songs while recording them. I would doubt it just because she performs a lot of these songs, I would presume on her tours. Maybe not a lot of them anymore at this point, I don't know. Nice. She liked to, at this point, to end songs with a lyric, a vocal. Okay. Now I'm gonna be honest. I don't think these last few songs on this album, I haven't listened to these as much. I don't think. We'll see. Love the drums here. There's not much room tone in any of her drums at all. They're very close mic'd, which is fine. It sounded great on the album up to this point. And this is cool too. It's a nice effect. Piano. Yeah, I don't remember this song at all. I love it. I love it. Oops. And I don't think I know her song. I don't think I know any of these last few songs on here at all. Maybe it sounds vaguely familiar. I like balancing the hi-hat with, like they've done the whole album, balancing the hi-hat with strummed acoustic guitar off to the far side. And it, not much tone to the guitar again, mostly just a percussive element. But the human ear can pick up that that's what an acoustic guitar sounds like. Strings here. Nice acoustic, or nice electric guitar there. A little Imogene Heapy here, kind of. Kind of sounded like she was struggling with the vocals a tiny bit there. Which is silly to even say, but I don't know. There was something about the way that was sung. It felt like she was almost out of breath. Maybe that's what it was supposed to sound like, though. I don't know. Could be her interpretation of what she was saying, you know. Ooh, I love that guitar tone there. Was that a electric cello or something? Or was that just a guitar? Electric guitar. I didn't think of it until just now at the end when it was done. Piano sounds great. I love piano and acoustic guitar together. I've always loved that. All right, Haunted. Oh, yeah, I have heard this one. I mean, I've heard the whole album. Just a matter of whether I remember or not. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, listen to that bass go, baby. You can really hear the definition in it this time. Interesting delay, vocal delay. Drums also sound different. A snare drum. Interesting. Wonder how much pressure they felt recording these albums to try to make them sound as close as possible. I'm not remembering this. See, her voice is sitting on top of the mix here, and it should be, the mix should be folded around her voice more. This is definitely the weakest of the mixes, I feel. Tambourine in there. I think the vocals are just a little loud on this song. They're consistent with the way the rest of the album has been mixed, but I feel like her vocals should sit inside the mix more. Yeah. The more I'm hearing it, the more I think her vocals are too loud here. Or everything else just needs to be brought up more, but I feel like it might have been like a last minute decision. Like, no, her vocals need to go up a little bit in this song. It's definitely too loud compared to everything else. And that's pop music for you, you know? I like the strings, but it's kind of hard to tell what they're doing. Definitely the weakest song, for sure. Especially mix wise, at least. I guess I can't speak on the rest of it. Whoa. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's go. This sounds fantastic. A little trip hoppy almost. Oh yeah. Yeah. This just sounds way better than the track that came before this, than Haunted. You know, Haunted should have been mixed pretty much like Better Than Revenge, and it really wasn't. Or maybe even The Story of Us. But I don't know, it felt like it was lacking. I love the male backing vocals. It adds so much. Very much a country thing. Not just that, but I mean if you have a female lead vocalist in a country band, it's very common to have male vocalists as some backgrounds, and vice versa as well. And I love that. especially when you're singing a song like a love song. You know, it's feels almost like a duet without necessarily featuring the other person. But it really adds, in my opinion, it really adds something to the song. The acoustic guitars on the sides balancing each other, very nice. My gosh, this I think this is the third chorus already, and we're only halfway through the song. What are we going to do? The rest of it? I'm very curious. This song fits the style of mix that they're having this whole album so well. The feeling of space is so great. That concert bass drum, really nice. Just hitting it very soft. I think that's what it is, at least. I love that they didn't go back to it being huge. I mean, yeah, there's still time in the song, but having the middle of the song be the biggest part is really nice. I don't recall ever hearing this song before. What a gorgeous, beautiful song. I don't remember that one at all from from the original album. So, dang. It's my bad for not loving such a fantastic song. I would have been looking forward to that one the most had I known what it was. God, that was a good song. All right, Long Live, the last track that I think we're going to listen to. I may listen to this tracks, two of the bonus tracks with the guest vocalist just cuz I'm curious. Really different sounding drums here. I like that. I like the kick. Just some reverb on it, some room sound. Nice sort of 80s reverb almost on the snare. Yeah, this sounds great. The song before this should have been the last one. Love that yell. I'm reading about the album, sorry. I am listening. I'm reading about the album, though. I like that sort of xylophone thing. I always love things like that. Has Taylor Swift ever played a concert with an orchestra? Let me know if that's ever been a thing that's happened, because I would love to hear that. If they released it as like a Blu-ray or something, I would definitely be interested in that. This song sounds a little derivative of the songs that were earlier on the album. I like it. It's mixed well. Don't get me wrong. But it just reminds me of other songs that I know I've heard before, and it's not because I've heard this one. It just reminds me of other songs on this album. Okay, that's the end of that. But I do think I want to listen to a couple of these other ones. Now, like I said, I do have this original this deluxe edition, which does have the songs "Ours," If This Was a Movie, which I know is not on here, and Superman. And then it's got a bunch of different, or not a bunch, but it's got Back to December, Haunted, and Mine, different mixes. So I'm not going to listen to Ours or Superman. I've heard those before on there. I don't recall them at all. But I do want to listen to Electric Touch. Well, let's just load all of them and just see what we got here. Nope, we're not listening to that one. We're going to go to Electric Touch, which is Electric Touch featuring, it says Fall Out Boy, Patrick Stump from, so we'll see what. Right away, it sounds sort of like an acoustic or a different drum. Now, I don't know if these From Vault songs or were recorded at the same time or what. I don't know. Definitely completely different snare drum. Or at least it sounds like it. Oh yeah, completely different mix. Less crazy compression. Interesting. You got completely different mix. And that's fine. For just sort of like a bonus tracks. Now notice he has a bunch of overdubs and stuff. Her track, she didn't need that. And I'm not saying he needs it either, but that's what he did. Just be confident and sing with Taylor Swift, dude. Maybe he didn't have very many takes, who knows. Sounds like Taylor's doing some background vocals there too. I have a Fall Out Boy album, but I don't think I've ever listened to it. And I know their singles, and I really like some of their singles, but I don't know anything about Fall Out Boy. I like that, those like keyboard string fantasy patch thing in there. That's cool. Really interesting mix compared to what we were just listening to. Much more contained, hard to hear things in the background, less clear, I feel. Definitely more amateur sounding. It does sound very similar to sort of stuff that was happening on the album. Again, feels a little derivative of the other songs, so I can understand. Like this sounds almost like a rough mix, whereas the other songs had like pass after pass after pass after pass of get each thing to sound as clear as possible, as obvious as possible in the mix. Okay, the other track I want to listen to is Castle's Crumbling, which is Taylor and Hayley Williams. Ooh. I'll turn it up a smidge. I love this so far right away. The bass is really nice. Ooh, I love this. Ooh, those drums are great. If the drums are not programmed, they're definitely hi-hat might not be, but they're definitely replaced or added to. Ooh, it definitely feels like Taylor Swift Speak Now era vocals with the just the way she's singing, her cadence especially. This is great though. I love the way the mix is. Now, Haley Williams, I've never been a huge fan of Paramore. I recently got a couple of their albums and tried listening to them, and it wasn't really my thing. I do have the Paramore album After Laughter, and I love it. Much more electronic-y, 80s influenced. I heard a couple of their singles from their album that came out this year. I didn't care for it as much. And her solo album from a couple of years ago, I tried listening to it, and I just couldn't get into it. I like her voice. I like the songwriting. I just, there's something about it. She does this a lot on this album. That no high low high, right, low high low. That's a thing she did a lot on the vocals throughout this album, and maybe that's a more of a might be a whole Taylor Swift staple. I don't really know, but that just sounds very Taylor Swift to me. But again, this is the album that I'm most familiar with, and she did that a lot on this album. So this makes me want to go listen to 1980 or 1989 though. I'm going to listen to that as I'm trying to fall asleep tonight. I love the beat though. Again, this is like trip hoppy. There's definitely a darkness to this, the atmosphere of the music. Man, her voice just always sounds ugh. Really bad distortion there. Ugh. But again, for a song from the vault, you know. Whew. I'm always okay with ending a song on a piano. Yeah, it's fading out. So okay. All right, let's get you back up here. Okay. Okay, so I just got done listening to Speak Now, Taylor's version, and I absolutely loved almost all of it. I definitely will say the two songs I was looking forward to the most were Mean and Never Grow Up. And I think that the original mix did those songs a little bit more justice. The mean mix, I feel, didn't have as much. Like, I really liked that when the chorus came in on the original version, that it just felt like the song was ratcheting up a little bit more, and I think that that's just because those albums were a little bit more dynamic. That mix on that album was a little bit more dynamic. The mix on this album was much more compressed, much more modern sounding. However, I think that it was done masterfully. Like, it was done superbly across the entire thing, with the exception of one song, and that was Haunted. I really feel like her vocals were too loud. The music did not sound like it did on the rest of the album. So to me, definitely Haunted is the weakest song on Taylor's version, in my opinion, especially mix wise. I didn't care for the song as much. I mean, I heard the strings in it, and so that means they put a lot of effort into it, obviously. But for whatever reason, the song didn't wrap around the vocals like I felt it did in the rest of the album. The vocals sat on top of the mix, and I don't feel like that was doing a service to the song. I think that was in disservice to the song, I guess. The rest of the album, though, because it was so wide, it took me a while to get used to the sort of the stereo spectrum being so wide. It just felt so enormous. And I think the reason for that was they had everything sort of in its clear own space. But then because of the compression that was being used, it really did feel like everybody that was playing their instrument was standing like in your face, right? Which is something that would be impossible in real life. But when you're recording things, everyone can stand right this close to their microphone, right? And then the mix can feel like everything is just like right here in your face. And it really did, and it really sounded really nice. And like I was just saying, it felt like the things that were on the side were of equal value in terms of the song to her vocals, and that everything kind of wrapped itself in this really nice package that spread across the entire stereo spectrum. But with Haunted, it didn't feel that way. It felt like her vocals were here and everything else was just brought down. So that's the only disappointing thing I have there. I have to say, because I'm not as familiar, because I should have listened to this earlier in preparation for it, but I didn't. I think that the arrangements for all these songs were fantastic. They all sounded pretty much what I remember them sounding like, with the exception of this crazy different mix. I'm sure if I A-B'd this, which I was thinking about doing, but I don't want to take the time to do it. If I A-B'd Taylor's version with the original version, I think that there would be massive difference in the mix and in the mastering specifically, but mostly the mix, and just how loud things are on the sides, how clean everything is, what slices through the mix. And I think that this was just done super, super, super well. It's really crazy. It would be really... this is such an interesting experiment to have, because there are so few opportunities to hear a band re-record older songs. It does not happen very often. It does happen with a lot of 80s bands went through and they were paid to like re-record their one-hit wonders to be on like compilations and things. That used to happen all the time. When CDs were a big thing and you could get compilations, you'd buy a compilation CD, you'd put it in your CD player, you'd listen to it, and it wouldn't be the original version of the song. It might still be Flock of Seagulls recording I Ran, but it would be like a different recorded version at a different time, so because they didn't necessarily own the copyright to that. It's the same thing with Taylor Swift. They would record their own version of it later that they could license off to these different compilations. I do know of a couple of other instances where bands would re-record stuff. It does happen with certain bands when they record a song, obviously for like a demo or something, and then they get signed, and then later on they go back and re-record one of their original demos. I've heard that a bunch of times. Most noticeably, or the thing that sticks out to me the most, would be one of my favorite bands of all time, The Birthday Massacre. They have... since then, they've released old 4-track demo versions of a lot of their songs that they recorded very first when they first started. But they have an album that came out called Nothing and Nowhere, and that sort of got them signed to a record label. And then on their first album, they had, I think, 3 or 4 songs from their first album that were re-recorded versions of 3 or 4 songs from their like pre-record label release. And then that was really neat to hear those. And then on their second full-length album on a record label, they went back and I think did 2 songs from their original before they were signed to a record label album. So there you can listen to the production original, the production that they used on their first major record label album, and then their second one as well, even though they're different songs. And then the only other band I can say did something like this, and it's really cool, they're one of my favorite metal bands of all time, if not my favorite metal band of all time, is a Japanese metal band called Mook. They went through and recorded, let me look it up because I want to be accurate. One thing, while I'm looking this up, I will say one thing I was reading on the Taylor Swift wiki page, which I was reading a whole bunch about the songs and just about different things. I did specifically notice that line was changed. The mattress line was changed to matches, like a moth to the flame, and she's the matches. I don't know how I feel about that. I think that it was fine the way that it was before, and I don't necessarily feel the need like that she needed to change it, but for her to go and change that, it must have been a big enough deal to her that she did. So that's interesting, because I know she'll just straight up swear in songs nowadays. I think her albums now have parental guidance on them. So the idea that a line like that is actually pretty not that bad considering, was kind of surprising that she would change that. Okay, so Mook, a Japanese band. Let's look at their discography. Okay, yeah. So their first two albums, I think it's their first two. Ono Homura Uta. I apologize if that's wrong. Let's see if it says if it was re-recorded. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you're a big Taylor Swift fan, you probably don't care about... Oh, yes. Okay. So what Mook did was they took two. Mook is a Japanese metal band. They're one of, if not my favorite metal bands of all time. They're absolutely phenomenal. Their music style is incredibly varied. It's not necessarily gimmicky like I find some Japanese metal bands to be. I could absolutely see if you listen to like maybe one or two Mook songs and you thought like, oh, this is like a pop part in a metal song, and now we've had a pop song and here's a metal part. So I could understand how someone would think that, but it always bothers me when people do think that, because I feel like Mook is more special of a band than that. They're not a gimmicky novelty act. They have been incredibly varied their entire career. But what they did was their first two albums, which came out in 2001 and 2002, Suzetsu and Homura Uta, I believe. I'm sorry for the pronunciation. They re-recorded those in 2017, I think, as Shin Suzetsu and Shin Homura Uta. Basically, they're what's known as, or what they have it listed on here as, is a self-cover album. So they went back and re-recorded the songs from their first two albums, and so they took their first album, and then they released a CD version of it, or a deluxe version of it in 2017, 17 years later, where they had the full original album remastered, and then all new recordings. And I think they did change some of the arrangements a little bit, but not too much. All brand new versions of those songs re-recorded and mastered with modern techniques and everything. And so you can listen to the full original and the full re-recording. And that's really cool. That's exactly what we're getting here with Taylor Swift. And those are the only two examples of that I can think of. I can't think of another band that just straight up re-recorded an entire album. You know, a lot of bands, if they are around for long enough, they'll certainly be asked to do certain cover versions or certain newer updated versions of their older songs, where they're literally going into the studio and re-recording things, as opposed to just having a remaster, which is just taking the original files and the original, hopefully the original stems if they can get them, but the original mix of the song, the original unmastered mix, and then mastering it with more modern technology, whether it was a song that was recorded in the 60s and then remastered in the 80s, remastered again in the early 2000s when radio and everything went HD, and then remastered again now 20 years after that. where we have so much more technology to do so many different things with mastering and tape denoising and all sorts of things that we can do, isolating specific instrument or specific things and sounds within mixes to lower or raise them. We can do all sorts of things now we wouldn't have never been able to dream of doing in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s or even the early 2000s. So that's the difference between a remaster and a remake. And it's really interesting to hear this whole Taylor Swift album of remade versions of an entire album of hers. It's really cool. It makes me want to listen to her other album, Fearless, because I think Fearless was the album that came before Speak Now, and I'm pretty sure that it was a lot more country. So, and I might be wrong about that. But also it makes me really curious about Red, because Red was the album that she released where it was very much the dubstep sort of album. That's how I always think of it. A very simplified electronic drum beat and like lots of like synth-based stuff on it. So that would be really curious to hear that version of her album. I've seen the album at Walmart tons of times, but I've never heard a single second of it. So if anybody likes this video and you would like to hear my thoughts on any of the other Taylor's versions or any of Taylor Swift's albums that I mentioned I haven't heard, let me know. I'll do more of these in the future for sure. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for sticking with me here. I wasn't planning on recording this, but I have, and now I'll put it out into the world and see if it gets any views or whatever. That's fine. If it doesn't, I know my channel has been growing because of Metallica, and I'm sure there's probably actually more crossover between Metallica fans and Taylor Swift fans than a person would maybe think. But yeah, I don't know. It's certainly helped me feel a little bit better about my day and how my life has just been going, I guess, the last few days. I don't want to make anything seem grim or anything like that, because I've been having a pretty good time actually recently as my channel's been growing and putting a little bit more effort into it. So we'll see. But yeah, if you've watched this entire thing, you've stuck with me and you're a Metallica fan, know the good Metallica stuff is still coming. We've got all sorts of good things coming out. I've got a lot of things planned for that. Once my channel I've been working on some YouTube shorts to put on my channel. So once my channel gets okayed, I want to try to put some of those up there. As it is right now, I don't think I have any videos that I could monetize on my channel. And it's not about the money or anything, but it sure would be nice to make a few dollars here and there. And I know shorts are a good way to bring people to the channels and see. So yeah, I don't know. Got lots of things coming up that I'm thinking about. Like I said, if you want more Taylor Swift, if you thought anything I said was interesting, you'd like me to listen to any more of her albums, let me know. I'm absolutely down for whatever. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.